I am at Chaco Culture National Historical Park here in New Mexico. This is one of the most historically important Puebloan sites in the entire country, and this is my first ever visit to this national park. Now, I'm not seeing everything today, but I am going to look at some of the pueblos, so let's go check this out. This park has a lot of expansive Chacoan ruins and historic sites. It would probably take several days to see everything here, so I won't be doing all the sites or trails today. However, I will be seeing quite a bit, so this visit will be broken up into 3 separate videos. The other 2 will be linked in the description. In this part, we'll check out a gargantuan great house complex known as Chetro Ketl. But first, we have to drive through Chaco Canyon. The road follows along this towering northern canyon wall. I'm going to stop here at the Chaco Canyon Visitor Center. Chaco Canyon is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of 24 in the entire country. So this place is really significant on a global scale. It joins the ranks of other sites that were built around the same time period, like the Durham Cathedral in England, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the Magao Caves of China, and the Easter Island Heads. Sadly, the visitor center is closed right now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a ranger booth outside, and lots of other precautions have been taken, such as these physically distanced footprints. There are some exhibits in there, so hopefully it'll be open next time. This viewpoint provides a fantastic vista of Chaco Canyon and an up-close view of Fajada Butte. The Chacoans would climb atop this butte to watch the sky and observe astrological cycles. On top there is an archaeological site known as the Sun Dagger Site, which has some spiral petroglyphs that interact with the sunlight to visibly mark the summer and winter solstices. Now let's go further into the canyon to find some ruins. Chaco Canyon has been inhabited on and off for thousands of years, first by the Clovis archaic early basket makers between 7000 and 1500 BCE, then the first ancestral Puebloans, or Anasazi, arrived around 900 BCE. They just lived at little makeshift camps. However, by about 850 CE, the population was firmly sedentary and started expanding rapidly. Over the next 300 years, the Chacoan culture developed and began construction on some of the largest architectural projects on the continent at the time. Chaco Canyon was the economic, cultural, and ceremonial center of the entire region, and they even began sending people out to colonize and build other pueblos throughout the San Juan Basin, like the Aztec and Salmon pueblos, which I have videos on. The Chacoans also began participating in local trade, and were connected to a much larger network of trade routes throughout the Southwest and Mexico. They even had a turquoise processing operation in the canyon. Around the year 1130, a 50-year drought began, which eventually contributed to the end of Chacoan occupation in the canyon by the end of the 12th century. The first major stop will be Chetro Ketl. Chetro Ketl shares a parking lot with Pueblo Bonito, the largest ruin here in an area known as downtown Chaco, but it looks like it's a one-way trail now, so Chetro Ketl will be first. Off in the distance, the towering ruins of Chetro Ketl are visible. It does blend in with the lofty canyon wall behind it. This is the second largest of the Chacoan great houses. Its next door neighbor Pueblo Bonito is definitely the largest. So you can see how Chetro Ketl compares to Pueblo Bonito in part 2. This great house began as a single story room block around 945, but over a period of about 100 years, it expanded a lot. It actually covers over 3 acres, and there's a good deal of walking required to see it all. Almost all Chacoan great houses were designed in the shape of the letter D, That's even true in other locations like the Sun Temple at Mesa Verde. Chetro Ketl had over 400 rooms on several floors. It was built of over 50 million sandstone blocks, which were all quarried nearby, along with the wood from 26,000 trees, which they had to drag back from the distant San Juan Mountains. And it is believed that it took over 500,000 hours to build. This was a long colonnade that had square columns throughout the narrow room. That was a very unique feature of Chetro Ketl. Here is the Great Kiva, which was the political and ceremonial center of Chetro Ketl. Those stone squares were the fire pits. There is a fantastic complete reproduction of a Chacoan style Great Kiva at Aztec Ruins National Monument, which I do have a video on. Chetro Ketl was likely constructed for large-scale ceremonies, as this section of the canyon was considered to be particularly sacred. The elaborate and expansive complex they built definitely proves it was important. Since there are so many small rooms and suites, it is believed that people lived here as well. Due to the ceremonial nature of the place, it was likely inhabited by the priests, and sometimes pilgrims and visitors from other areas. Apparently no one knows what the name Chetro Ketl means. It's definitely a weird name. The Chacoan ruins were documented in 1849 by the US Army Corps of Engineers. One surveyor accidentally labeled the site with that name, and it stuck. It is believed that they meant to label Pueblo Chetro Ketl, which would translate in Spanish to the Rain Pueblo, and that would make a lot more sense. There is another fascinating feature of Chetro Ketl, an elevated kiva built 12 feet above the ground over a regular room. Kivas are usually subterranean, so that's pretty odd. There was also an elevated plaza surrounded by the second and third stories. Well, that was Chetro Ketl, and I am very impressed. That's a big structure, and it's nearly 1,000 years old. The one-way trail continues to Pueblo Bonito, directly alongside the canyon wall, which appears to have plenty of petroglyphs visible. Unfortunately, there isn't much in the way of signage to point out or elaborate on the petroglyphs, but I'm going to keep an eye out for them. There's a cluster of cacti. There are quite a few spiral petroglyphs around here, which are very similar to those found atop Fajada Butte. They probably have something to do with the solar calendar, which was also tied to their farming cycles. A lot of these petroglyphs are definitely faded. There's a faded guy on a horse. The canyon wall is very impressive, and as part of their road system, the Chacoans did build pathways and staircases into the canyon and cliffs in order to climb atop them. There's actually a great house right above here called Pueblo Alto, which is built on the canyon rim. I believe it's a good long hike to get up there, so I'll save that for a future visit. There's lots and lots of spirals. There's some mud swallow nests in the crevices of Chaco Canyon. Wonder how the Chacoans dealt with those pesky swallows. Alright, that was part 1 of Chaco Culture National Historical Park. It has been a tremendous experience thus far, but that was just one great house. I plan on seeing several today. So go watch part 2 next, which will feature the largest Puebloan ruin in America, Pueblo Bonito. Other sites like Pueblo del Arroyo and Casa Rinconada will be featured in part 3. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, and subscribe. Also check out my other videos on regional Puebloan sites like Aztec ruins in Mesa Verde, along with other national parks, historic sites, museums, roadside attractions, and more. Thanks for watching.